What up, bro?
Bro, you killed the lick, man. You killed it. You do it better than me.
Man, I was on it for a minute.
You
Like,
do
wait,
better than
what?
me, bro.
Yo, how are you, bro?
Good, man. I'm good, bro. It's good to see you face to face, man. I'm honored to be here, man. I appreciate you reaching out.
No doubt, no doubt. Thank you for having me, man. This is episode 42, bro. The Jackie Robinson
Woo! Jackie
episode, bro.
Robinson episode, man. We breaking boundaries, stealing bases, man.
Yeah.
What's up?
Yo, I love doing these because I'm always fans of people, but then when I get to really dive in and do my research, it makes me even a bigger fan. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I like to dive in and read up as much as I can, listen to as much as I can, and that's kind of where I come from question wise. So I have some questions for you.
Sure, bro.
People are gonna be checking in. What up to everybody? I got a little crowd that comes through, so
Yeah, man.
you
It's all
feel
that's
free
all
to
that's the
acknowledge
awesome
them.
thing, man. That's
Yeah.
wonderful, bro. I love when people like matter of fact, my brother-in-law just texted me right now. He's one of these people that like is really great at just building community of people that like he's always saying like if no one was watching, I'd be doing this anyway. And like just I can see like from watching your other episodes, I just watched the one with Alex Isley. And
Oh,
oh man, she's so cold, bro. But
yeah.
like, yeah, man, I think I just love the fact that you built this thing, man. 42 episodes strong, man. Let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So listen, Winston-Salem, bro.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's where I grew up, man.
What is I only rode through, made a brief pit stop at Winston-Salem. Matter of fact, it was at Wake Forest.
Oh, word.
Did
That's
it?
what's up.
There was a track meet, like a track meet that I had gone to there. Yeah, man. But I
What, you
didn't get
ran
to.
track?
Yeah, I ran track in
What?
Louisville. Yeah,
Okay. You at Louisville?
yeah.
No, that's so wild, man. Because my dad was a professor at Wake Forest for a while. First of all, he was at Winston State. Then he went to Wake Forest. Then he went to, now he's at Louisville.
Oh wow.
This is crazy. My parents
Yeah.
live there. So yeah,
Oh
yeah.
wow.
So he's a big like Cards fan now. Yeah,
Oh
that's what's up.
wow. Listen, bro. What is Winston-Salem like growing up there? What was it
You
like
know
for
what?
you?
It's a beautiful little town, man. It's kind of a college town. Like you said, Wake Forest is there. Great HBCU, Winston-Salem State is there. Go Rams. And you got the North Carolina School of the Arts. So it's
Oh,
definitely like kind of, I mean, I would say outside of like Asheville, it's like the most kind of like liberal, artsy kind of city in North Carolina,
okay.
to me anyway. And it's got like, really nice, Black National Theater Festival every year. So it's a cultured town, but it's also just real low key, outside of like Wake Forest basketball, there's not like a whole bunch going on with sports.
Okay.
Had my little church home. Shout out Mount Zion Baptist Church.
Yes.
Shout out East Winston.
Ah,
Yeah, man, it was great. And like, I mean, it's not famous for a whole bunch. I mean, let's see, what Krispy Kreme.
whoa. Okay. Whoa.
Yeah,
Whoa. Whoa.
Krispy
Whoa.
Kreme.
Whoa.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Sara Lee, Texas Pete hot sauce, and cigarettes. Cigarettes.
Okay.
RJ Reynolds.
Yeah.
Don't call my
Yo,
head cigarette. Yeah.
you come from a very talented family.
Hmm.
My question is, growing up, was it evident that you all were, going to be going in a creative pathway career-wise, or was it kind of just a side talk? Like my brother and I, we grew up talking about it, like when we would be in our rooms late at night and under our covers, but we, never really talked about
Yeah,
it to our parents. What was it like for you?
man, it was, yeah, we didn't necessarily converge on like music as like what we were going to do as a career or that we were going to be working together either. We just knew that we grew up in a household where music was like valued, appreciated. It was never pushed on us. Like my father got his PhD in musical arts. So like, yeah, so when I was 2, he was graduating from the doctoral program. So I mean, you can just imagine like just being around like all the composition, all the great composers. My middle name, I'm actually named after Giancarlo Menotti, who's like an incredible Italian composer.
Wow.
So like, I mean, it's like definitely baked in, but we took our own separate paths, man. Everybody did. I studied, uh, I don't know. I was doing everything, and music was just kind of like just a fun thing to do on the side. Like I was playing football. That was my main thing. I was going to play football in college, and I decided last second not to. I traveled abroad. I was studying Spanish. That's what I majored in.
Yeah.
I was doing like pre-medical studies. I was going to be a doctor for a while. That's what I thought, and then like, yeah. So I mean, it was definitely not necessarily intentional, but it also feels divine in that kind of wonderful way.
I love that about your story because I feel like the more diverse people have experience wise, the more they can bring into this thing, and
Yeah,
it can't
man,
be so,
totally.
it won't be so, everybody does the same thing. I love the linguist factor and the
Man, I was
Spanish
gonna say,
factor
man,
too,
come
bro.
on. I heard c'est pas compliqué. I heard, from that private, bro. I know, man.
Yo,
I know,
I
French,
was like,
French speaker,
yo,
bro.
what made you, go the
Hold on,
linguist
hold on,
path?
hold on, bro. Let me ask you first. When did you start speaking French, man? Is that
Oh
like a part of
man.
your last name, Corvet? Like
Well, je suis né à Baton Rouge en
Baton
Louisiane.
Rouge?
Ouais,
Oh,
ouais.
oh.
Et j'ai commencé à parler la langue de français quand j'étais très jeune.
Hee.
Oui, oui, oui.
Un
En
petit peu.
école primaire. OK, so,
Uh-huh.
et puis après ça, j'ai continué avec mes études en collège, à Morehouse et tout ça.
So
Yeah,
pretty good.
so being born in Baton Rouge, bro, it was just like a situation where going to private school, which is what I went to when I was in Baton Rouge, it was just,
Mm-hmm.
that's just what
Mm-hmm.
we were gonna know,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
then being black, and early on when you're at private school, you learn early on that you don't have the same type of history that everybody
Mm-hmm.
else does.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like Baton Rouge as a city, understanding that it is a former French city, French
Yeah.
territory. It just made me attach myself. I just attached myself to the language, bro, so
Uh-huh.
much, man. It
Yeah.
just gave me a deeper sense of identity, bro. Yeah. So
Man, that's so tremendous. That's so wonderful too, man. I always love hearing people of color, like black. I love hearing black people speak French because it is like an elegant language, but also, even as I hear you speak right there, it's like a particular lilt, a particular iteration of it that I just like, it just feels so good to me. I don't know why.
I
It just
love it,
does,
bro.
man.
But
Bueno,
you though,
Pues entonces hablaba español hace, no sé, 13 años, algo así. Estudié en la Universidad de Salamanca, en España, del noreste rincón de Salamanca, y bueno, eh, por eso sí, ya. No practico tanto mucho, pero vale. Y de momento estoy aprendiendo o impartando italiano
oh wow,
con la mia fidanzata. La mia fidanzata potita, patatina. I don't know. I'm trying to learn. I've been trying to learn Italian for like maybe I don't know, a couple hundred days. She still speaks circles around me, but yeah.
yo, bro,
Parlo un po' di italiano,
yo,
un
man.
petit peu de français.
I love it, bro. The
Yeah,
culture,
man.
man. There's so much
Yeah.
in the culture.
Yeah, bro. That's it, man. That's it.
I love it,
That's
bro.
it.
Okay, so talk about the significance of Radiohead and the video
Ciao,
game
bella.
and the video game Rocksmith.
Oh yeah, man. Dang. This is crazy to talk to you about it because you're like such a great guitarist. And I definitely want to know like what was your journey in terms of like that language? How did you acquire that language? But like for me, I grew up playing the piano, and that was kind of like the first thing that, I was able to express myself on in any kind of way musically outside of my voice. But when I moved to Atlanta, I decided I want to get on stage. The piano's a little bit prohibitive in terms of like movement, and I wanted to move. I know that like you're one of the disciples of Prince in the way that I am. So it's like, man, this was like right when he was making a comeback, when he was like doing Jimmy Fallon, and like he threw Captain Kirk's guitars and shit like that. I was like, it was like the first time I really realized who Prince was as like a rock god. So that was one of the things that just kind of like, all right, it's time to learn guitar. So I went and got me one right at the top of 2012,
Wow.
and and at the Guitar Center they had in the little bin, little DVD that said Rocksmith, and it was apparently like Guitar Hero, except you plug in your real guitar and it teaches you how to play, like just little bit by little bit, little bit by little bit. So you learn songs. And yeah, man. So I mean, I did that for like 3 months, every day, all day, every day. Like I was playing like 5 to 6 hours a day,
Wow.
and getting all my calluses and stuff out of the way. But it was fun because I wasn't great, of course. I was still a pretty crappy guitarist, but I was learning to just love the process of like just holding it and like the weight of it on your shoulder. Like I said, the calluses, the noises, how to get a consistent sound, and all these other things. It was a great tool, man. And it
Wow.
introduced me to that song "High and Dry" by Radiohead, which I had heard before, because some of my homies in at Wake Forest put me on to Radiohead. OK Computer.
Mm.
But when I found that song on the game, I definitely gravitated toward it, and then that was like,
Wow.
yeah,
Man, yeah, I'm like, man, I your story, man, I just love it, bro. Like, I man, super dope. It's funny because I saw you probably for the first time, maybe
hmm
like a year or so after that.
yeah.
At South by.
Oh yeah, man. Oh my gosh,
Dude,
I had a couple of I had maybe like 3 shows. One of them was awful. Like I like dropped my guitar. That was the first time I learned like, oh, I need strap locks. Like it was like it was some terrible, terrible performance. And then another one, I guess they were okay, but like yeah, I
dude,
remember that.
I remember the one in Austin. I just remember I was like, man, the show was tight. You know what I mean? You
Thank
did
you,
it
my
power
brother.
trio style, which
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was like, I love that. You know what
That's
I'm
what's up,
saying?
man. Shouts out
Um,
Kenneth. Shouts out Leon Cottrell. My
yeah,
homies,
man.
bro. Yeah, man.
Yeah, what advice would you give to someone who's aspiring to just get a well put together show, kind of, you know, out there, or just trying to work on that in general, that showmanship, that performance element.
Yeah, man. Oh man, I learned so many lessons performing, bro. I think the first lessons I really learned were like actually on the road with Janelle and like just seeing like operating her playback and doing her on stage monitors. I
Mm,
learned a lot about like how much the tech can really influence how comfortable you are on stage. So I mean, I would say for artists, you know, if you're able to like get familiar with that kind of stuff, like don't let that be left up to just whoever's at the venue. Like I'm not saying freak out about it or like let it get in your spirit before you start singing because like you got to offer what you got to offer. But like also, I know for me that put me at ease knowing that like okay, if in fact the sound guy goes to get a sandwich or take a cigarette break, I'm not gonna be ass out here and not be able to hear myself or like not be able to do what I need to do on stage so that I can give what I came here to give. Because it's
mm,
one of those things that like you could prepare so hard and then at the last second, just because it's like feeding back or like because your mic's not on or like your strap drops or something. It's like it's all out. It's like man, it's one of them finish line things. So, but in terms of like practicing, I come from that James Brown school, man, where it's just like hit it, all right, hit it again, all right, hit it at you know 1.5 of the tempo. Like let's hit it super fast. All right, let's hit it slower. Let's do it with if we're using playback, let's do it without the playback just in case something goes wrong. All that just that preparation helps me to feel free on stage. Some people talk about like freedom comes from real discipline. So,
wow,
you know, that's what I would say, man. That's what helped
wow.
me.
So you're part of the Wonderland Art Society, and I wanted to ask you, what was it like early on in those
Mm.
in those in those formative years?
Well, first of all, before I get into that, I do want to say, like, when I first moved down to Atlanta, I definitely also peeped one of your shows. It was over at my homegirl India Shawn and Miriam Mariba, who were just like my little homies back then. We would just rode my little road dog. They took me to a show that you were doing over at Terminal West, I think.
Oh wow,
It was like over the King Flower. I think it is
yeah,
Terminal West. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I don't know if it was like a showcase, like a BMI show, or some kind of thing. But
yep. It
like,
was a
and I
showcase.
was like,
Super.
man can play, bruh. You play. I saw you playing and singing your ass off. I was like, I see that, man. I see you, bro.
Man,
So man,
Love,
crazy,
bro.
bro. A lot of love, man. A
Yeah.
lot of love. But like, yeah, I mean, getting into Wonderland early, it was something that, like I said before, it wasn't necessarily like an intentional decision, like, oh, I'm gonna move down to Atlanta and I'm gonna be part of Wonderland. It just kind of happened that way. Like I loved what my brother and Janelle and Chuck were doing. They would send me, music and ideas, and like after a while, after I got adept enough at software, I'd be able to send them ideas back. And so it became kind of a natural collaboration that after I got out of school, and I had been coming down there on my spring breaks and stuff like that. But like when I got out of school for good, it just so happened that like Janelle was finishing her project, so I helped out a lot with the engineering on the front end of that, which was like that was like a real learning curve, trying to get tight on somebody that's like just got their first major label deal or whatnot. And I learned a lot about that. I learned a lot about composition in that moment of just like trying to do the orchestral bits of her album. And then like after all that, it was like going on the road. We going and doing venues with like 150, 200 people, and like learning what the road is like, man. Like for real, learning what it's like, not tour bus. Like I think we was on a van at that point. So like learning how to get your rest, learning how to save your per diem. Shit, man. Uh,
Wow.
like I said, learning a lot of the technical aspects, how to load in your gear, how to patch a whole stage, how to, run your monitors, how to learn I was doing her monitor, so I was learning a new, I was learning a new board every city that we went to. So it wasn't enough to just be like well versed in like this one little thing. It was like I had to get the overall concept. So I learned a lot, and it was definitely like a lot of times where, Janelle, God bless her, she was, 5 seconds from cussing me out just because I couldn't like, I couldn't hack it over there. But she's always been a great boss and great patient person. So great sister, man. So
Wow.
yeah,
I
man.
love the fact that, I say a lot of times artists skip a step, these
Mm.
days.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
you just never know what step is gonna really be the thing that unlocks everything else. So I
Yeah,
just love that
yeah,
about you, man. Like the
yeah,
fact that
man.
you have been able to be humble in music
Mm-hmm.
in order to appreciate all that comes from
Yeah.
putting in the hard work. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. And I feel like I am again just want to be thankful and gracious to Wonderland, to my brother, to Janelle, to Chuck, Mikhail Moore, like all these people that were kind of laying the groundwork. George 2.0, for me to have kind of like that. I don't know. They always called it like a mystery school, which is kind of like a cool little magical way to refer to like being a super intern or like whatever it is. But like it was a real amazing learning experience, and I don't take it lightly, man, because not everybody gets that chance. But yeah,
Wow.
yeah, man.
Yep.
So I mean, like, what about you, man? Like, in terms of getting into music, like, what made after you graduated from Morehouse, like, what or like was it something that because I saw an album that you had out to like 2003, like, how did you make your way into artistry?
I always wanted to be an artist, man. I
Mm-hmm.
think the first time my mom worked at night and my father worked in the daytime. So
Oh,
my
okay.
father would go to sleep and my mom would be at work and my brother and I would sneak out and we would watch a lot of we used to call them nudie movies, but we would watch a lot of we would watch a lot of nudie movies. And and then and then we would but other times I would watch documentaries, man. I'm a documentary buff, bro. I love
Oh man, I love him.
documentaries.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Same.
So I got caught up watching Elvis Presley documentaries, bro. That
What?
made me
Really?
want to be an artist. Yeah,
That's
he got
crazy.
watching the way the girls would go
Oh
crazy
man,
and cry. I
crazy,
was like,
bro.
I gotta do that. I
Crazy,
gotta do that.
crazy. That's
Yeah, man.
wild, bro.
Yeah. Between that and that was like my first experience. My other experiences being in Louisiana, my mom's family sending us a tape
Hmm.
of my uncles lip syncing to Donny Hathaway this Christmas for Christmas time. Those two experiences
Yo.
really made me like, I love this feeling. I want to make it,
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's so
Crazy.
wild, man. That's so wild, bro.
Yo.
Oh man.
So
Whew.
wait. So okay, because this is about you. I appreciate you flipping it up, because
Nah,
I'm
man,
not
it's good
used to that. It's
conversation.
good
I love it.
conversation.
I love
It's
it,
good
bro.
yeah. I. So you're no stranger to the Grammy realm and
Mm.
all that comes
Mm-hmm.
along with that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you're a part of a record that really, I think, changed the tide in the way popular music was received or interpreted. Like
Mm-hmm.
there was a time when it was just trap, 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 trap,
Yeah, yeah,
trap,
yeah.
trap, trap, and then Classic Man comes out and it's like, hey, all
Yeah, yeah,
right,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying? My dad
Yeah.
is like, hey, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
my
yeah.
little sister is like, hey, and then my students at the time were like, hey. I'm like, yo, that's what music is supposed to do. I wanted to ask you, being a Grammy nominated artist, and with that record in particular, what's the backstory on that record?
Man, it was really a tremendous time in all of our lives. Wonderland, we had just come off of Janelle's Electric Lady album and tour, and we were in a space where we were kind of just like thirsty to um, use the lessons that we had learned on the road, but also figure out a way to, um, we wanted to collaborate more. We felt that like we had spent a lot of time like working with one another, and that we wanted to open up to some people that like some of our like kindred spirits. So a collective called Fear and Fancy, who was based at that point, I think, out in Oakland when we first met them, and then they were based in Brooklyn. Big shouts out to Jadena and Whipper Wiley, Nana Quabana, Eleanor Kateri, um, Jeepers. I don't know if I'm forgetting anybody right now, but anyway, they all became a kind of a part. They kind of like were our became our cousins in a sense, and they started coming down like on weekends whenever they could, and we would just like have big sleepovers, and like we kind of became committed between them, Saint Beauty, who was a young up and coming group at the time, um, and yeah, like Deep Cotton, we all were just trying to figure out a way to kind of shed our notions of what have we done before and what can we do now? What can we learn from one another? Like what are the lessons that we're learning in life in general, and like, how do we kind of reimagine ourselves in a new way? So it was a real spiritual kind of like coming together. We would like doing presentations for each other. We would like I said, we do sleepovers and like parties, but like with kind of thematic things and like yeah, yeah. So anyway, all that to say, after a while, we got to like making music, but because we had, really done a lot of that soul work, I think Jadena, particularly Jadena and Nana, when they came back from New York to come back for a visit, they had Classic Man, the track, and we were all just like super excited because it was like it hit, like you said, in that sound of that time, but the message was so clear and it was so on brand with who Jadena wanted to be, and like certainly who we wanted to be as the men of Wonderland. And so, I was just honored to be able to get and contribute however I could in the feast, man.
Dope,
Yeah.
dope, dope. Man, I've been on your whole catalog.
Naomi Mac, what's up, girl? Long time no see.
Naomi, what's up? Oh, Naomi, do you like Okay Lady as much as I do? Let's see
Oh
her
man.
response.
Oh
Man,
man. Oh
bro.
man. She said no. Oh no, she said ro. No, I heard that shit. Oh,
Yo,
Naomi, man, you look so happy these days. I love seeing your stories, girl. God bless you,
man.
girl. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I listened to it, man, and the way that you came, the way that you infused,
Mm.
man, it was really dope, bro. Really, really
Oh
dope.
man,
I gotta give
bro.
it to you, bro. I
Shouts
gotta
out,
give it to you.
shouts out, man. Like, and it's funny because you bring up the story of like how I started playing the guitar, and gosh, I don't know. Don't judge me, man. I haven't been practicing. Like, I've been doing my composing tip. Oh, not you can tell. I mean, in tune. My brother been in here, man. He's less likely to like tune up before he plays because he like to get a little dirt on his song sometimes. So you kind of like just learn in the Rocksmith. They kind of had you play through the chorus in the way that the Radiohead does it, like. And like for me, that was exciting, super exciting. But then also being able to, um, you know how it is when you're practicing something, like especially with an instrument, you have to slow down in order to play correctly. If you
Yeah.
want to like develop a certain technical proficiency, you have to actually put on a metronome and do like the boring work of like, okay, I'm gonna do 5 minutes rest, 5 minutes rest my hand, especially when you're. So as I was kind of like just doing the strength training of like how do I hold my hand, like not get tired,
Hmm.
it just kind of started to feel like a different groove. And I think I had seen like some GQ thing where D'Angelo was just like resurfacing. It's funny, like him, Prince, all these people, like right when I started playing guitar, like they were kind of just coming back. People who were like, musical geniuses and heroes, especially like in the R&B realm, coming back. But he had just done a thing about how he was coming back, and I don't know what it was, man. It was just like something clicked in my head. I don't know if it was like some good weed, which I was smoking at the time. I don't smoke no more, but like, yeah, I don't know what it was, but like, I just kind of had these two things going in my mind. And once I did the high and dry kind of fusion thing, it was just like it seemed like a really cool connection. So over the course of the next year and a half, I just started putting them together. That's it, man.
Hey, everybody out there, y'all need to go listen to that. Listen to that.
Check it out.
Check that thing out. I'm trying to tell you, the blessing. It'll
Yeah, man.
bless you. Yeah, bro. Oh man, yeah. I was jamming to that joint. I really
Oh
was,
man, God bless you, bro.
I love the way there's a certain attention to detail.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? The
Hmm.
little nuances, the
Yeah,
subtleties,
yeah,
those sonic elements.
yeah,
It just means a lot to
yeah.
a
Well, I
person
mean,
like me. You know?
you know what? The crazy thing is, man, you also asked about like what advice do I give anybody? Like for young artists, I would say do covers, and not because like you that's where you ultimately want to end up. I know everybody wants to express themselves, but like sometimes it's like I remember early on, I would do Stevie Wonder covers, not just like on stage, but like production. I would produce them not for anybody to hear, but because I just wanted to. If it's something like really touches you, it's almost like you want to put it on like a blanket, or like you want to try somebody's clothes on. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to feel what it's like to be inside of my Cherie Amour. Like because that song is so incredible. Like how do I put that on? And so I would do that with songs all the time. So it wasn't like the first time I covered a song or like produced a song. That was something I would normally do, for me. So and then when you're doing that, and shouts out to my brother because he also would do that from time to time. But like I know that sometimes when you do it, the temptation is to like get it, but then immediately take it left. And like for me, it's important if you really want to try the close on to get as close as possible to like, especially when you're doing production, like take your time, do all the sounds. And like if you heard the vocal and then it was like in reverse, like reverse the vocal, sing it the way that the reversed vocal sounds, and then like reverse your vocal after that so that it feels just like it did when Radiohead did it. And so like for me, I just love doing that, and it's a great homage. And then at the end of it, you have all these cool techniques and sounds that you didn't know how to do before. But like, yeah, I feel like that's
Wow.
part of it.
What up, Shantae?
Shantae
Shantae.
Can, what's up, girl? Ooh. I'm so funny. She knows,
Yeah, she do. She do. Um, I I was listening to you and Nate's work on The Lady and the Tramp. You
Oh,
know,
cool, man.
yeah, man. Oh man, like you can just tell the vibes.
Yeah.
Vibes are vibes are all there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Was that kind of some of the techniques that you kind of use in getting that? Did you listen to any of the old music at all
Oh,
to vibe?
absolutely, man.
Okay.
Absolutely. And the wonderful thing about taking on an assignment from Disney, which, already in itself is an honor, but being able to tap into something that's like a childhood love, like some of those films, like I could tell you every word and every, like, not just every word, but like every sound effect, like, because I just watched them so much over and over and over again, like, wore those tapes out to like the tracking was off. So like, you know what I'm saying? Like I loved we watched, of course, the Old Lady and the Tramp, which was just incredibly classic and still is like just up there. Robin Hood was another one of my favorite ones. Oh, I loved that one. I just love the way that they just like melded the 70s into it. That was the thing. Like they were always like time appropriate, like period appropriate. And then like Aristocats was another movie that we hadn't seen a lot of, but like got some really cool ideas from in terms of like the kind of New Orleansy sound.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, man. So it was there was a lot of love put into it, a lot of laughing in the studio as we were coming up with ideas and like trying little things out that we felt like what would our 10-year-old selves like giggle at. So that was just a whole bunch of fun, man. Yeah,
Dang,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
Is that part of it though? You know, like so many people are trying to rush and everything, and just you saying trying things out and thinking about, you know, feelings and how you would have felt and doing the research and everything like that.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, like, there's the technical aspects of it, like, how fast does the song have to be? What key should it be in appropriately? And when does it need them out? It's got, and then going to the picture is a whole different kind of thing. So all those things are important, but like at the end of the day, the measuring stick, as you're doing the work is really, you know, would my kid self like this? Does the child still in me, like, still find this amusing or funny or like, magical, whimsical? And if you get a yes from that answer, then like you're in good shape. Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah.
so let's talk scoring. Uh,
Oh, my
I
cousin
grew,
Silky Slam in the building. What's up?
I I grew up singing. And when I sang in school, I sang classical music, but when I
Mm-hmm.
sang outside of school, it was everything else. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, I had a certain affinity for scores by
Yeah,
themselves. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
they just take you somewhere.
They
And
do.
I was listening to Antebellum,
Uh-huh.
and I was like so focused the whole
Yeah.
time. I was getting shit done. You
Yeah,
know what
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying? I'm
yeah,
like my brain was just working, bro. I'm like, yo, man, like. But it's like when you really listen to music, it has its own music by itself. It just has its own language without
yeah.
any
Absolutely.
words, you know? Like
Yeah.
that's like when I first started listening to jazz, it would be like
Mm-hmm.
I would just be caught up in all the sounds.
Yeah.
And depending on the day, the song meant a different thing to me, which is what
Yeah.
I loved about it. You know, it wasn't like
Yeah.
somebody telling me this song is about this and this
Right.
and this, you
No,
know?
man. Yeah. Depending on like the circumstance, I agree so wholeheartedly, man. Like I remember like studying music became like my favorite thing to listen to or favorite uh it was one of the most important things when I started studying like just any kind of subject in school, like and jazz music and classical music in particular, because like you said, they can go along with whatever is going on in your mind. So if you're imagining, the path of, you know I don't know, some scientific thing happening and like you're reading it and then like the melodies are going with it, it just, yeah, it really can become like a really important tool to like cementing information or like augmenting emotion, as you know. So,
Yeah.
with going into a score, understanding that the power of music is that, I mean, that was certainly something that just drew and has always drawn me, Nate, to that idea of making cinematic music, even for Janelle's albums. So when we got this opportunity to work on Antebellum, it was like, yes, 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 yes. And of course, we learned a lot immediately about, what moments in a film can take, you know, a lot of storytelling from the music, and then there's a lot of times when like you're just really underscoring. You're really just keeping a low frequency kind of thing, especially for a horror movie. I learned a lot about, you know, it's not always going to be thematic, because otherwise you'd be talking over the dialogue essentially. And so, you know, learned a lot of lessons about, you know, when it's appropriate, when you need the swell of emotion, when the audience wants to be told what to feel, and then when they don't need, you know, to be told
Wow.
what to do. So yeah, it was a lot, man. It was a lot of good lessons.
I read somewhere that a lot of the ideas, or at least some of the ideas, came from voice memos.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So
for sure.
can you give me an example of what an idea could sound like as a voice memo that would
Yeah,
then be flushed
yeah,
out?
yeah. It's probably gonna sound real effed up because it's probably gonna be like, you know, 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm gonna be out of pitch, but like, say for instance, for the main theme, which did come from a voice memo actually. Da, 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 and I'd be like, do the bass note right there. And then do strings. And then bring the cellos in. And then swell. And I'll be just singing, and nobody would understand what I was talking about except me, you know. And even me, if I wait too long between when I'm doing it, or if the idea is like kind of there but it's not really there, you know, I need to interpret it as quickly as possible in order to not lose it. But some things are so strong that it's like I can hear myself singing in a certain way, and it's like pressing play on a double click on in iTunes. It's like
Wow.
weird that I can hear like the whole shebang bang. So with that theme in particular, we had one of our string players over. Shout out Grace Shem, who's an amazing cellist. She's been working with us since 2009, and she was over helping us to kind of flesh out some ideas. And Nate and I were both just going through our voice memos, and like I came across that one, and I was like, oh yeah, let's try this. And yeah, that was it, man. We were off to the races. And that was before we saw the movie. That was before we saw like any, you
Yeah.
know, that was based off of reading the script, you know, trying to figure out.
So what type of what type of information are you given when you're in the process in order to kind of help you, to kind of inform you or whatever on what
Yeah,
you want to create?
yeah. I mean, the directors were great. Gerard and Christopher Renz, Gerard Bush and Christopher Renz, they were, you know, really involved in bringing us on board. So we were definitely grateful, and did a lot of collaborating with them and hearing from them about what their vision was. And they talked about wanting something that was haunting, but beautiful, that felt sweeping and emotional, but that also could lend itself to something horrible. So, you know, that was a clear enough, you know, direction for us to kind of get, or a clear enough benchmark at least, to be like, is it haunting or beautiful? So, all right, let's just go. Let's go. And then we had the script, you know, several months in advance. So we were able to read. And like you were saying with the music, like sometimes you read a script and you can just imagine the world better than if you were just looking at it. You know, your mind takes you based on where you are. So,
Wow.
yeah.
That's
So
super
yeah,
dope,
man,
man.
it's crazy,
I
bro.
I encourage people to check that out as well. Like just it just cleared, is it cleared or cleaned when you talk about your
Yeah,
palette?
cleanse. Yeah,
It
cleanse.
cleansed that,
Yeah,
cleansed like my palette. Like I was listening to a whole bunch of garbage that I don't want to, that I would never repeat. I would never tell people I listened to. It was a lot of things that people would be very surprised that I listened to in my free time, but I thoroughly enjoyed, like, it just, like I said, man, it put me in a different place.
Mm,
And I think sometimes for me, like I get so caught up in the I need to be creating, or this
yeah,
or that. Like I don't
yeah.
even listen to music like I used to listen to it before.
I
You know what I'm
feel
saying?
you, bro. I feel you. I was gonna ask you, like, what are you listening to lately? But I know how that question can like be a little intimidating sometimes for an artist, because you're like, man, shit, I'm listening to my shit. I'm trying to figure out my shit. But it's not like you want to be in that place, because you want to be like open, and like that's not a great place to make music from. You actually want to be like hearing from the world and like, or from God or from like your friends and stuff like that, to be inspired in a true and like honest way. But like, yeah, sometimes it's difficult when, especially when you do this as a profession, to separate, you know, just the joy of it from like hearing something and immediately breaking it down. It's like, oh, okay, I see what you did
What do you do? What do you do outside of music to like just be you, or to just vibe
Yeah,
out?
yeah, that's important, man. You know, sometimes I do definitely exercise. So I take long walks sometimes. Like I haven't been doing it as much this past couple of weeks, but like early on in this pandemic, I would go for walks for like 8 miles like a day. Like
Wow.
I like walking though. It's a good way to clear your mind. And the thing is, if you walk far enough, you got to walk home. So it's like I like that. But yeah, so you know, doing good exercise, man. You know, I'll when I'm when it's not the pandemic, you know, I definitely will go and hang out with friends, which is great because it always brings about like cool conversations and stuff. I like to bowl. That's like another meditative thing for me. I have my own equipment, so I get into it, man.
Oh,
Uh,
what?
yeah, bro, I got the shoes, two balls. I'm up there, man. I'm up there.
You're the
Yeah.
guy who's like
Yeah, yeah,
shining
yeah.
in the
I come in
ball.
with the bag. I come in with the bag, man. Glove on. You know what I'm saying? What's
I
up?
was always afraid of those dudes. Like when they had their own gloves,
Yeah, bro. That's me.
what,
That's
in their
me.
own bag, let them
Yeah,
have
that's
a
me.
jacket on or
That's
something
me.
that had their name on it right here on the
That's
back.
what's up.
Oh,
I don't know
so
if my
good.
cousin's still in the chat, but you know, Aaron, she'll let you know. We got family bone tournament every Christmas. Always up there in the top three. You know what I'm saying? You know, thank you, Lord. You know what I'm saying? I just want to thank God, who was the first in my life. Amen. No shade though,
Yo,
for real, for real. Yeah,
wow.
man. Yeah.
Um, can we talk about I-69 for a moment, sir?
Ah! Yes, let's talk about God and then talk about 69. I
It's
don't think
mutual.
that I think they are mutual things.
It's mutual.
It's mutual, baby. The best.
I the you know, from a sonic standpoint, what I appreciate,
Yeah.
among other things, is the way that you are able to weave in
Mm-hmm.
a tag
Mm.
that works so well as a guitar player
Yeah.
through the song, because
Yeah.
you know it's a challenge sometimes. Guitar players who can sing really well,
Yeah.
it's like, where do I shine as a guitar
Yeah.
player on
Absolutely.
the
Yeah.
record to let people
Yeah.
know that I'm a guitar player
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
overdoing it or overshadowing myself? And I felt
It's
like,
crazy,
ah,
man. It's true, bro. It's true. And you know what's funny is because when I wrote that song, I didn't play guitar yet. So the good thing is, you know, sometimes like I heard you talking in your interview with Alex Isley, and I was like, you were talking about the when you put your producer cap on versus when you put your artist cap on, especially when you're doing both, it can be tricky, like you said, to kind of like do one thing and then not be able to divorce it or like you know.
yeah,
So a lot of times what I'll do when I'm coming in the session is like I'll be only producing and only just doing this and with the you know my instruments or whatnot, and then I have to come back and reapproach it as if I can't touch, or maybe I'll just bounce it down so I can't touch any of the instruments, so I can
mm,
just think about it as if somebody produced this music for me. Let me
yeah,
see what I can do with it melodically. But with that song in particular, yeah, I didn't play guitar. I was just in a relationship with a woman that was about 7 years older than me, and she was like showing me all the good things, and yeah, I'll never forget it. So it just made me feel like that. It's one of those things that, like, in the, you know, when the melody matches how you actually feel or it matches the lyric, that's what it was. So,
wow,
yeah, man. Yeah.
yeah. That I've seen you perform that record, and
Hmm.
you know, I I believe in the message. I just want
Yeah,
everybody to know
absolutely.
that I support the message.
That's right,
That
man. That's right.
I, you know, you got to. Yeah, I mean, we it's, you know, it's an exchange.
It is, man. It
It's
is.
constant. It should always be a flowing
That's
exchange.
right, man.
You're never empty because you're giving and
Because
receiving
you're
it.
giving and receiving. That's right, man. That's right. Yeah. That's a
So
message. That'll preach. That'll preach.
Bro, I really understood. It really stuck with me. I was like,
Yeah.
yo,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
this is a platform right here.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
So, I was like,
Yeah.
man, I'm a part of this. I'm a part of
Yeah,
this team
man.
right here, man.
Yeah, bro.
Uh, everybody should definitely check that record out. And after you think of Roman, think about me and
Yeah.
and and love,
Yeah, man.
of course.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
in this day and age with artists who are playing some instrument.
Someone said so vote yes on Prop 69. Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
yes. I
absolutely.
I at least when I started playing guitar and I
Mm.
started even delving into the possibilities of pursuing some sort of strategic partnership with a label, let's say,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
any
yeah,
label. Those
yeah,
those those making those types of rounds,
yeah.
it wasn't as easily digested that I played
No,
the
yeah,
guitar. I
mm-mm,
didn't understand why
yeah.
people would say, "Yeah, Prince is one of my favorite artists," and then I'll be like, "Okay,"
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm
All
like,
right.
"Yeah, but I don't understand you playing the guitar though." I'd be like, "What? What are you talking about?" You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
man.
Um, I look at you, especially when you did the tribute. I think it was for Chuck Berry, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
man.
was like, yes, bro. I
Yeah,
was so
bro.
excited for you, bro,
Oh
because
man, thank you, my brother.
I, people of color playing instruments, especially instruments that the popular masses might not necessarily
Associate with black man. Yeah.
associate us
Mm-hmm.
with. It's
Mm-hmm.
important that we
Yeah.
see that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
And I look at you as someone who's able to advance the conversation in
Absolutely,
not
man.
just playing the guitar, but in general.
Mm-hmm.
Doing things um, outside the box, but taking the box away in the process to begin with, because there should never be one. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
man. Yeah, yeah. We should be able to create. I think that's what we're fighting for is to be able to create and have a sense of autonomy and not feel bound by, cultural mores, cultural norms or whatever. And like we can do what we need to do and go based on our talent, not based on like what the accepted kind of standard is. And that was one thing I definitely encountered in Atlanta when I moved there. From going from like living in Winston Salem, which is a predominantly white city, and going to predominantly white schools my whole time, and being like the only black kid in a lot of my classes, all the way up through college. And then coming down to Atlanta, was a real positive culture shock in a lot of ways. But then there was this other side where it felt kind of a little restrictive in terms of like what people expect the kind of music that you're going to make is if you're in Atlanta, which shout out Atlanta has been a really huge progenitor of and a leader, a vanguard in terms of like hip hop for a long time, going back to Outkast, and then all the innovation that Little John did in like the mid 2000s and like
Mm.
then like the onslaught of trap music to this day, like how it's still like huge. But then there's also like a part of it that, yeah, like you said, you can feel a little bit marginalized when you go to an open mic and you're trying to do, something with your guitar, or like when you go to a label and like you said, the response is right, right. So you're doing the guitar thing. Okay, cool, cool, cool. But it's crazy though because like coming off of the '90s, and I wasn't even as aware of this as I am today, but like thinking about like bands like Tony, Mint Condition, like these like they were playing, bro. They were bands. They were bands. And I'm not saying that everybody has to do it, but I'm just saying that like there was space for that. And these musicians were bad. They were as bad as any band from the 70s or 80s or whatever. Like they were doing their thing and singing their ass off at the same time.
Hmm.
And yeah, man. So, shout out. If you're a young black man, black girl, like black woman, you want to do your thing, like pick up your instrument. Don't let nobody stop you from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a preference because you do so many creative things, or is there one piece of the creative process that you really just enjoy more than
Mm,
more than the others?
mm. You know, I heard Wynton Marsalis say one time when he was doing a talk at the Idea Festival in Louisville. I think it was maybe 2014, and he said, you know, his favorite part of the process is like when the idea is like just brewing in his head and it's like crystallizing, because it's like still there's so, all the potential is like right there, and like you can hear it. In some ways, you know, it's kind of downhill from there because you're the process of like creating it, and it's not always this way, but like the process of like transcribing it is really, you know, when it comes in that kind of divine inspiration way, it's
Yep.
really just, it feels like it's a responsibility now to just
Yep.
like, okay, I just got to get this out. Like it's all here. But I love kicking around idea, like having that, being struck in that way. I just love, I love that. And I live for that. You can't rely on it as a creative because, uh, you know, especially if you want to make a living, you mean, you know, things come, deadlines come, somebody needs this from you or whatever. So like you have to learn how to produce and compose or whatever it is without being inspired. I'm sure you've gone on stage when it's like, all right, well, my voice doesn't feel the best, or I don't feel the best, like, you know, whatever. But you still do it
Yeah.
because it's your job. But for those moments when, yeah, I love when I get like an idea and I'm singing the crazy voice memo and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yo, you said something that really stuck with me just now, and you were talking about kind of like it's downhill. I tried to
Remy, what's
explain.
up, baby? Oh, sorry,
Remy,
man.
what
Go
up,
ahead.
bro? No, it's all good. I tried to explain this to somebody when because I finished recording,
Hmm.
and recording, and then I was, dealing with the mixing process and the mastering process, and even, track listing and all of that. And they were like,
Yeah.
somebody was like, "Are you excited?" I was like, "I'm sad." And they were
Yeah.
like, "Why?"
Yeah.
I was like, I tried to explain it like it feels like the closest thing I can think of to postpartum
The morning.
depression, because
Yes.
it's like it's over.
Yeah.
You want that feeling, and the feeling
Yes,
is
dude.
never like it was when it first comes, bro.
Yeah, yeah, man. You're so right. You're so right, man. And it's like it's wonderful to relive those things on stage. That's what one of the things I appreciate about live performance, is kind of getting ready to, like, you get to live the music again with somebody else, you know, for the first time. But yeah, like you said, man, it's you mourn that process
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh
dude.
man, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So what do we have to be anticipating to wait
Mm,
on? Don't
mm.
feel any pressure or anything like that. But I know after listening to everything, I was like, man,
Some
I'd like to
more.
hear something. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's so fantastic, man. I appreciate you offering me the platform to speak on that. You know, certainly Nate and I have other projects that we are excited to present to you guys in terms of score for film and television.
Nice.
So, I mean, I'm not allowed to speak so much about, you know, what they might be until they're out.
Right.
But anyway, suffice it to say, we hope that this is a real jump off for more and more things on the composing front. And then from other musical offerings, certainly working with the amazing Jadena and Nana Kwabena on their one of the many projects that they're working on. But like, so excited to have them out here in California, and we be, you know, kicking around. I think they're coming over tomorrow to the stew, so we'll get back in. That's always a great time. I am working on my project, which, you know, is something that came about literally this year. It wasn't in response to the pandemic, but certainly this has given me a lot of time to just like think about it, flesh it out, and to just kind of feel, um, and just go off of that. And yeah, yeah, man. And then some offerings on other people's projects. I know Isis got stuff coming out that we've worked on for a while, and
Oh,
I don't know, man. I kind of you can sometimes you kind of lose track of the fire, the irons in the fire. But yeah, that's
that's
the
a
main
lot.
things on my plate right now.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. I have this feeling that the music that comes out of this year,
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be a lot of it, but there's also going to be enough substance for people to tell the difference, for
Mm-hmm.
people to be able to say, okay, this is more of a snack, or this is more of fast food, this is more candy, this
Yeah.
is more, filet mignon. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? People will be able
Yeah.
to tell the difference in how they feel when they listen to it because they're able to really consume it. they have
Yeah.
the time,
Yeah, yeah.
you know what I'm
More
saying?
space,
So
yeah. It's
man,
not just like ancillary, yeah. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Man, I appreciate you. I know we're gonna be cut off here in a minute, but
Sure, man.
before I got cut off, man, I wanted to say merci for coming
Ah.
through, bro. And
Prego, prego.
and before we jump off, I wanted to give the floor to you. There are people who have been shouting you out, talking about you, saying good things. So I wanted to let you, acknowledge them and say whatever before we sign off.
Oh man, thank you so much for giving me this platform, Cam. I really appreciate you and your manager reaching out and allowing me to get on here and just speak and have a great conversation with a great brother. Thank you for everybody that tuned in. This is an amazing little group, and I want to say that I really appreciate you guys spending time with us this afternoon. I don't take it for granted, as my grandfather would say. I don't take it lightly. And thank you for always lending your ears, for your kind words, for your inspiring messages, and just know that really does touch my heart when I'm. It makes me happy when I'm happy, happier when I'm happy, and when I'm in places of doubt, it also really encourages me. So thank you. God bless you all.
Yes, my bro, man. I definitely want to keep the creative conversation going with you, bro.
Yeah,
Saying this on the record, so you know
yeah,
what I mean.
that's what's up,
But yeah,
man.
man, you like a cousin, bro. I
Yeah,
just feel
man,
the
kindred
connection, bro.
spirits,
So
bro.
yeah, bro, I appreciate you. I appreciate everything that you're doing. Shout out to your whole collective, everybody that you're connected to. I love everything that all of y'all are doing.
Thank you, man.
Shout out to Jackie for putting it together
Yeah,
because it was something I really wanted to make happen. So
yeah.
once again, man, thank you for coming through. And I'm gonna post some snips
Cool,
later
awesome.
of some moments and everything
Yeah,
like that. So
yeah. I'll
yeah,
repost.
man, stay in touch, man. Continue success, bro.
Likewise, man. Likewise, bro. I'll talk to you soon, Cam.
All right, bro. Peace out.
Yes, sir.